Arrive at the door. All right. All right, you're good. You go inside. Good morning, everyone. I've been getting luckier and luckier and luckier. This year's been really, really cool for this podcast. I have two fellas from the band Annabelle. Andy and Ben, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us. We're stoked to be here.
Yeah, so first things first, I was telling y'all a little bit ago. Worldviews is I constantly am trying to listen to new music. When I started like doing my stuff like 4 years ago, I figured that like on a marketing level and like on just like I'm kind of getting back into music. I should like listen to new stuff every day. And once I found like, oh man, I heard Annabelle's releasing this new record. And I'm like, man, why does that sound so familiar? And like remembering like my party days of between like 2008 to 2012 because I'm fucking 37. I remember these guys, dude. Like this is really wild. Like a friend of mine was super into y'all, and he had told me about it, and I was just like, this is during the time I was always listening to a lot of like, and so I watch you from afar and things like that. So it like, and the concept of that arc tangent as a festival like was interesting. So listening to Worldviews and then listening to your stuff before that, like y'all are just first of all incredible, but what a fucking journey.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, it has been quite a journey. We've been at it for a long time. And, Worldviews was a long time coming. It's sort of like we had that period, like that you talked about back in like 2008, 2009 and all that stuff and kind of, had a natural break after, many years just going at it. But we were lucky enough to be able to get back together and make another record, which is something we always planned on doing, just kind of adult stuff got in the way.
Sure.
We made it happen.
Yeah, so what's so fascinating about the whole thing is, first of all, that break is, I mean, the first three records, I would say, like, there is a through line for the first three records. I think your voice is a little more gravelly. There's, a lot more stuff kind of like, I think musicality, it's, all of your records, there's an Annabelle through line, but there's something, what would you say is the biggest difference between Worldview and your other records?
I would say, I mean, I got into a lot more experimental pop stuff over the last couple of years. Like listening to like Jane Remover and Charlie XCX, that kind of stuff. So I really wanted to like push forward on like some new sounds and new directions. I think it like we wrote Worldviews over the course of many years, so like a lot of that old Annabelle stuff is still like there.
Totally.
And we wanted to like have it sound like a natural sound, like our signature, like have it our home base. But we wanted to play along with some more stuff.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I'll quickly add, like, I just feel like it has a little more confidence than our other records where we've taken this time to kind of develop the Annabelle sound or in our minds of what the Annabelle sound is. And I think this one just came a lot more natural because we know what it's like to be in this band, and Ben and I being kind of the main songwriters, like we naturally know how to work with each other. And I live in Chicago, Ben lives in Ohio, and I think it really took us some time to figure out how to write together, and doing it like long distance and especially COVID kind of helped us focus our songwriting. And I think it just comes with more confidence and more conciseness in these songs that I felt like, we didn't have to overthink what an Annabelle song is. I think Ben I think we got the we got the assignment and stuck to it.
Yeah, it's like the
I,
formula's there. Like you like by the fourth record, the formula should be there. And like
Yeah.
you get to pepper it with like all of the new stuff that you wanted to do, which I do hear that now that there is like when you listen to the older records, there is kind of uh a not writing this long distance thing. That's a feels like, oh, it's almost written like there's the garage, like the practice space sound. And there's definitely a lot more. I would say there's a rawness to those records that is not on this new one, which I feel like is like it's closer to the pop sound, specifically on a vocal end, where it feels just like all these vocals are so clean and cool, where it feels so much more mature as a record than the other ones do.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we also just like made the record we wanted to make. It was like we don't have to fit in like a scene or like worry about any of that stuff. It's like we're just gonna do exactly what we want to do with it, and kind of just take it in whatever direction we wanted, which was kind of just it was kind of cool. It's like we don't care about any of the external stuff. We just want to make the record we want to make.
Yeah, I think it comes through as someone that like again, I try to listen to a lot of music as much as I can just because, first of all, there's just so much music being released now and it's been so much fun like diving into this in my 30s. But what's something that coming back to y'all, I think maybe it's um first of all, your vocals and your structure has been so interesting and fun. But y'all's drummer doesn't do normal. Dude, like y'all do you don't do anything normal. There's like there isn't a single beat that I recognize. Like as someone that helps write drums and when I do demos and stuff for 95, like there's something about your structure where it's closer to post rock and indie than it is for like any basically anything else. That's where I hear that stuff for like this Tiny Guns, like there's just all that even like Red Sparrows and stuff like that. It's just so interesting to like did you what is your kind of drum inspiration? Do you try and stay away from like anything fucking normal because it's like I love it, but like is that like an active thing?
I'd say yeah. I think like naturally, just like it's all based on vibes. And I think
Hmm.
like when Ben and I are starting, or Ben has like the riff, and then it's like what's the drum part? It's like there's kind of the obvious one, beats.
Hmm.
And I think we kind of try to just see what else is out there. Like we'll try a bunch of stuff. Um, but it's usually just like what fits the vibe of the song and like I do a lot of stuff on the toms too. So it's kind of
Sure.
like how can I establish a beat and then like expand on it so that way it's not the same thing the whole time through and it kind of builds but calls back to that original beat or feel like some sort of feel
Yeah, there's more
you know
narrative to it. Whatever you're doing, there's a lot of narrative to your drumming where it's like it's just not there's some stuff that's like so non-classical about your drumming. And yeah, of course, there are some things that are like, okay, cool, we're gonna be doing this one on the and doing this one, or we're gonna do triplets here, or and it all matches and fits, but there's like just nothing there's nothing simple, I think. I feel like if there's like the Guitar Hero thing, but for drums, like y'all are doing like the intermediate level stuff. They're like, there's nothing classic here when it comes to like they did the drum version of that. It's so
I th
cool.
I think we approach the drums as sort of like a lead instrument. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
100%.
it's
yeah
kind of like it's guitar and drums that are kind of like the lead that kind of carry the songs. It's not the drums aren't just like a backbeat.
Hmm.
yeah
We try to make the drums as interesting as we can. And I think we really spend a good time just like figuring out that vibe.
yeah
And like so this most recent record, again, I can't talk enough about it. I find myself just again, gravity towards that record is immense and I just catch myself just wanting to listen to it all the time. What were the things that you wanted to convey in this record? And I would then after this, I also want to talk about y'all's relationship to even the word emo, because like I feel like that you coming back and releasing this record and the themes that you wanted to talk about, and y'all coming from like even the scenes, like I'm not sure how old you guys are, but like this seems like closer to the stuff that I used to listen to when that used to be emo to me. And like hearing like y'all doing this, it's like so nostalgic for me. Where it's almost this indie post-rock emo thing. It's just so cool. So I'd love to know more about that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the themes are built around like, isolation and alienation and kind of wanting to break out of that. A lot of it is also just like finding like individual like who you are as a person in sort of this phase of life, I guess. I think that a lot of it was built around just this sort of desire to, feel like you need to do more and make the most of whatever situation you're in. Some of the songs have like dual meanings. I mean, some of them are kind of like commentary, but also personal. So I'm trying to like capture things from different angles. But like, yeah, I mean, like some of it is kind of reflective too. Looking back, some of it is looking back on that era of when we were, you know, in our heyday and kind of appreciating it, but also like, thinking about it now. It's not necessarily nostalgic. It is kind of like looking at how things are now and wanting to, do whatever you can with the situation that you have.
Would you say that writing this record or just writing records in general, do you come from it from the approach of like, I'm gonna write these songs and then see where the themes are zooming out afterwards? Or do you have like a plan like from the beginning of like, hey, I think I'm gonna, write something and this is how I want to shoelace it all together?
I think I have a general idea, but then it kind of changes as
Sure.
I start writing. It's kind of like you start with a theme in mind, and then you're like, oh, this might mean something else. So that's when like some songs have dual meanings. It's like this could mean this, but it also could mean this other thing. Um, so it's sort of you know, I think there's a couple different ways to look at it. Um, and I think a lot of it also is kind of just like there was sort of this feeling of like nothing really feels real anymore. So it's kind of like what defining what is real to you. I think just sort of like there's mental health stuff too that goes with it. Like some of that is like in your mind, like what sort of aspects of that is real to you or tangible things, and what can you kind of work through um, with some sort of reality? Because a lot of the lyrics are kind of like some of them are like surreal and kind of like I tried to depict that in the lyrics as well, just kind of like just sort of working through that stuff.
I like the ethereal stuff, and I think that one there's a great documentary about Nashville singer-songwriters that I've seen, and it's not it's basically just about these songwriters that live in Nashville and they just write for others. And one thing I learned from the people that have been doing it for a long time, there's like this fork in the road where like you either get like even more literal as time goes on, or you just get more abstract as time goes on. And I find that like I'm leaning more into the abstract where I'm writing something and I might even keep the stuff that I'm writing as private. Where I'm like, listen, you guys take whatever you want because I like this, and I think that me not telling you what to think, you get to draw whatever you want from it. So I'm glad that you want to keep like an etherealness to some of the lyrics as well, where it's like, I feel, certain songs, I'm like, oh man, I like, for some reason, this is painting a weird picture in my head. And I like the picture that this is painting, where that could be different from person to person to person to person.
Yeah, I think I've gone through that evolution a a lot in my songwriting over the years. Because when I was younger, it was all metaphors, all like, nothing was literal. It was all just like kind of like codes. And then like towards our second and third album, I got more into like writing from a more literal sense and more of like, straightforward feelings and thoughts, like this is how I'm feeling kind of thing. Especially on like having it all. Whereas more of like conversational. And I try to have that conversational tone as well. I started to break more back into more of the imagery sort of things, but I think the worldviews is still a more conversational kind of
Hmm.
tone, even if the themes are a little more you know abstract. I think there is still more like a directness to it, which I always kind of liked. I connected with a writer named Raven Carver at one point and kind of identified with the way he wrote. I wanted to try to convey that in lyric form. But it's evolution, I think I'm always evolving, and I think there's no right way to do lyrics. I think I see sometimes some discourse online about what's the best way to do lyrics. Like, um,
There isn't one.
yeah, there is no one. So it's like whatever you're feeling, whatever fits the song, really. And I write like melodies first, so it's
Okay,
always
cool.
like how do I fit these to the melodies,
Do you do
which is a
music
challenge.
first?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. I always find, and actually, I should probably start asking more people about like that part of it because I find that part really fascinating. Because like once like the chord stuff is done, once like the progressions and like what's the riff is complete. What is the thing that like I've heard people like they'll record their riff and then they'll go to the piano and then just start tapping away at keys like in the key that you're doing. Some people hum along. I'm a hum along person, just like trying to develop a melody. What would you say as soon as your riff is done? How does like the lyrics and stuff come out of that, or even the melody itself?
I consider the riff and the melody like a package deal. So like
Cool.
when I before I share anything, it's like I have a like guitar and a melody together. Like I don't really consider it an idea. I don't ever just like have a riff and I'm like let's play around like with this and like we'll figure out the vocals later. I always know what the vocals are going to be like right away.
Oh, no
Um
shit.
yeah. That's just the melody though. Like lyrics take a long time because like
Sure.
um because I want to figure it out like the structure first. So usually like I'll come up with an idea, which is like chords and a melody. Usually I'll have like a verse and a chorus idea, and then I'll bring it to Andy and be like, hey, let's figure out how this stuff all goes together. Um, sometimes sometimes we'll also just like come up with stuff on the spot when we're jamming. So a lot of songs come from jamming
Mhm.
too. Um, but once we figure out all the structures together, that's kind of like when we start demoing stuff, we'll demo everything, and then that's when I'll start like writing lyrics and getting lyrical ideas.
I love that. So I wanted to kind of bring this into it because y'all have been around for a long time to kind of see like, you know, the the landscape change. And so I've had a lot of conversations with people that are new in this scene and also like there's still like a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed like um stars in their eyes. Like we're gonna tour and we're gonna be the biggest band. And like there's a difference between doing that now and doing that then. Back when y'all were doing stuff. So like I mean y'all's first thing came out 2008, 2009. So y'all maybe started in the beginning of 2008 or like late 2007 rather. Was this y'all's first band first of all?
I had a band in high school called Farsight.
Mhm.
Um, Andy had a band as well. And that's and our bands broke up around the same time, and that's when we started Annabelle.
And
Beautiful.
that was I was still in high school. So we're talking like 2005, in 2006 I was still in high school and we started jamming. We had a pretty good like local music scene, really eclectic. Like there was a lot of hardcore bands
Hell yeah.
because that was become popular and like the scene music kind of stuff. And then
Mhm.
Ben and I kind of went in this more indie route where we're just
Hmm.
exploring like indie music and kind of carving that out. And yeah, just naturally we decided to make music together because it seemed right. We were jamming with other bands, but I think we knew well Ben wanted to start a new band and I've started jamming with him and that's how we kind of formed Annabelle.
Yeah, we
Um,
had we had a couple of iterations, different iterations early. We started in 2005,
mhm.
and then we had a lineup, and then everyone quit at the end of that end of the year, and then we like scrapped everything, started again, and then it was just me and Andy for another year. And then 2007 was when we met up with our longtime bass player Scotty, and that's when we kind of like figured out what it was we wanted to do, and that's when we started touring more, and when we hooked up with more of the DIY scene, and like the scene in Columbus was huge for us when we started going down to Columbus, which is like 2 hours from Akron and Kent. And then yeah, everything just kind of grew from there. That's when we kind of, 2008 was when we met up with the Candidly Stars guys, and we sort of formed this, cool little, scene. Um, and we were really close with all the County Lucky Stars bands. And he was like, it felt really like a family. And then, then it sort of just like, you know, blew up. The scene did our little DIY
Hmm.
scene where we had all these bands from different um, different mentalities. I mean, I know that like the scene has definitely evolved, whereas like I don't think any bands in that scene like had any idea it would grow into this what it is now. I mean, you have to remember like how uncool the word emo was in 2008. Like
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
there was
do. I do
there was
remember.
no one wanted to be called emo.
Uh-huh.
It would have a different connotation. Now it's like, yeah, we're an emo band, and like people will care about it. Um,
Yeah.
Back then, you had to like code it like, oh, we're like indie punk,
Yeah.
or um, you know, you had to specify like 90s indie emo. We sound like Sunny Day Real Estate.
Yeah.
Like this
I
is
think
like
I think
during revival.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It was a little bit like I think we would hear the word emo. Like we actually got compared to emo bands. Like
Hmm.
and I think it caught us off guard. Like people would write about us and be like, "Oh, we sound like the Promise Ring or something."
Hmm.
I think we were like, "Really? Like where are you getting that from?" But then I think it then started to become like, "Oh, okay. I see where they're coming from. Maybe we weren't writing music thinking it was, but it's
Hmm.
really cool that people could pick up that." I just did never thought like we were an emo band to that sense, because we weren't trying to lean into a specific part of emo. Because I know there's certain bands out there in the scene who are doing a thing that felt very nostalgic, and I think what we were trying to do was like our own, but naturally we just had so many influences. Like we
Hmm.
loved indie stuff, we loved emo stuff, we loved pop punk. I grew up listening to like skate punk,
Hmm.
um, Tony Hawk kind of shit.
Yeah, duh.
But yeah, I think it just kind of like we didn't really think it was one thing or not. So I think that's why that the word emo was like a little jarring at first. And then I think we decided, we met the kind of like stars homies, and it kind of naturally just started to like click, and we felt like a sense of community from that.
Yeah, there's something about during that time in like this weird like emo in itself when I was like a self-declared like I'm an emo kid like fucking 2005, early 2006, when I was in high school and being like, yeah, no, this is like the thing. It's this counterculture thing. I love it. And then like afterwards being like, I have to, stray as far as away as I fucking can from that. That wasn't good for me. Like this. So like I think that happened to a lot of people where it was like, okay, cool. Emo and this idea or whatever this
Yeah,
is
I mean,
fading. So like when revival came around and Empire, everyone like wanted to be involved in like those things. I think Count Your Lucky Stars is like the home base. like for this thing that happened again, like 2008, 2000 to 2012. Like there was, and that's why I think that revival is such a good word to, um, but with this emo thing to kind of like help it back up because like whatever emo turned out to be in the mid 2000s, it's not that anymore. And that's just fucking pop punk in the first place anyways. Like I'm not like we shouldn't be afraid to say it. If you liked emo, you were a pop punk band like back then. Like when emo revival started again, that's when I think emo was like okay, this is what it was always supposed to be. This is 100% it. So yeah, when y'all came about and like started this new thing with everybody else, with like, being told about promising. So I'm glad that these like music writers kind of knew what they were fucking talking about too. Where they're like, yes, this is like Promise Ring. And you guys were like, wait, well.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, I think it was like amazing how many great bands like came from that. But we're all doing like things a little bit differently because you had like even the County Lucky Stars bands were all doing things a little bit different. Like you had like some bands doing like more screamo, some bands more poppy, some bands more like American football. And it was all cool. And then you had different scenes like the Philly scene was really strong, and Algernon and Snowing Guys. And Top Shelf had their own thing. And Tiny Engines had their own thing too. And it was really a special moment when we all just like were part of this thing and just playing shows with each other and like feeding off each other and like it was really cool. There it definitely was weird though, like when more mainstream like publications like were like feeding into this and like bands were blowing up and it was like, whoa, where did that come from? And then it kind of became this own thing. Like it sort of felt like, all right, this is something that's much bigger than any of our little bands.
Now coming back, in 2024 to release this new record, what was it like? It's kind of like walking back to the same house that you haven't been to in 12 years and like seeing who's like occupying it. What would you say are the biggest differences between like the people that reside in the house now and like the people that reside in the house and like when y'all were there?
I think, I don't know. It's definitely different. I think everything is like more niched now. Like, I think that, everyone's trying to do a thing, which is cool. I think emo itself kind of is basically like pop punk now.
Sure, 1,000,000%.
In a lot of ways. But I think that's just more of like everything sort of feeling like it's its own niche, sort of. I mean, and it's cool. I think there's definitely still strong scenes. And they're doing it their own way, and that's cool.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like DIY is different. Like and I think naturally, like we got older, same with like the scene we were in, and like we were used to like playing house shows, and then a lot of these bands now like are playing venues, and it's like become more of a thing where like the cool new emo bands have like booking agents, and they have like they're I feel like they it's almost like we paved the way,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily, but I do feel like our scene did in the sense of like DIY and like no, we would play like this house in Akron called Cling Thing, and like a lot of these bigger bands who were doing it then, like Free Throw or Foxing or whatever, like they got agents there and moved to different labels, and I just think that's kind of become the norm.
I think it's just like it's a possibility. Like bands see it as a
Yeah.
possibility now, whereas like back then it was like would never be in the realm of possibility for a band like this. But now like bands can start and like see a pathway to
Sustain
like
themselves doing it.
sustaining in some way. I mean bands aren't really making like a living
No.
unless like unless like you're at the top of the top, but even then it's still tough for any band. Um, but I think like there's a pathway to like be in an industry. I think bands see it more in the industry sense, and I think that's also because of like things like TikTok that are just like feeding you like content about how to make it.
Hmm.
Like here are things to improve your social media, um, stuff like that. It's everything's online now, which is a huge thing. I mean, back when we were doing stuff, like we barely had an Instagram page.
How does it feel to not have to worry about making Facebook events anymore?
Yeah, it's good. But also like I feel like they were effective
No
in
shit.
and like people being able to see your posts. Like you could actually post and then all of your followers would be able to see what you make and not have to worry about like the algorithm, like seeing who's gonna actually, with all of your followers that you've built and like grown, like they'll actually be able to see your posts.
Yeah,
Novel concept.
dude, you're totally right. I never thought about that where there's like, first of all, now there's a hub. There's one place. And like it was just that. And it was like the concept of marketing and stuff, you didn't have to worry about anything else but that. You could post whatever you wanted to do, and you didn't have to worry about TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky and like all of these segregated places to promote yourself. So that is the
Bring back
first.
MySpace.
Yeah, and like fucking MySpace, which I'll forever miss for the rest of my life. Like like as someone that looks back at like the things that I wish was still here and I didn't respect, or like not respect because I was still a MySpace kid. But I look back at MySpace and I was like, first of all, it was like completely customizable and you could do whatever you wanted with it. You could like literally put your own code on your own page. It was a completely your thing that they let us have that is completely not something we could ever have anymore. Like I miss that
Yeah,
shit.
it really was like the best platform for a band because you had your music right on the page, you had your post your news, your blog, your shows, you could message people. It was ideal for musicians. Whereas now you got like ten things you got to log into and you're a slave to the algorithm.
There's a part of me that I really want to push, and I've been thinking about it for like a couple of weeks where I'm like, what if we just all go back to Tumblr? Like, what if we just all go back and we're like it's just back to home?
I mean, yeah, I'd be totally down for that.
Like, I think there's just something I'm getting more and more grossed out by the fact that I have to do everything on Twitter and Instagram. And
Yeah.
I like Blue Sky. I think
Yeah.
it's fine, but it's
I, I,
just
I don't want to be like the old guy that's like back in my day, things were so much better because like you got to be adaptable. That's the game. Like you got to be
yeah.
flexible and figure out um what everything is now. Like can't live in the past, but it definitely was different. It was different.
Yeah, I think I'll just add one thing to this. I think I really miss like the exploratory aspect of those sites where like you knew you were looking for something interesting or unique, and like but you would latch on to that band's like Tumblr or MySpace or whatever, and something about it was like unique, and you would get into it. I think right now I'm just seeing that everything is kind of like shoved in your face, whether that's TikTok or whatever, and it's a lot of it like a lot of labels supporting stuff, and there's money thrown at it, and like it's all in the algorithm, and it's like all those bands on Spotify, like that'll come up after a band you're listening to. It's like that, where it's like you it's just kind of in your face, what should be cool. And I think I miss the days of just like going out and finding hand selecting those bands that you really liked without like having to have all that kind of support.
There was
If that makes
this
any sense.
dude, I am right there with everyone when it comes to that because the algorithm stuff I think is what kills discoverability anyways. Like I there was a website back in the day that I talk about and I revere it in a way. It was called Pure Volume. Uh,
Mm.
pure volume for was the kind of the key to the whole thing for me because there was a feature because I think it was a tagging based system. You just put the sounds and stuff that you did, and it's like rock, comma all whatever you wanted to do, and then you could like basically click a button as like on a click random on this specific tag, and then it would just take you to the page of another band that was like that, and or the take me to another similar band, and it would just take you to like the MySpace page of a similar band, and it
Mhm.
was awesome, and you could like see their whole thing, and like they would put 4 songs up, and they would have all their shows and stuff, and that's how I found like everything back then. I was like, oh my God, I'm finding stuff. And you see like less than 100 plays or something, and you're like, oh, I'm hitting that rare shit. I'm on that, I'm on that no one knows kind of shit. And I
Yeah,
miss
like where can I
that.
find that EP? Like, oh, that EP like from Naked.
Oh man, I wish
I'm sorry.
there's just gotta be a more acceptable way than like finding new stuff besides like I've already got myself off Spotify because I think that Discover Weekly was like weird anyways, and I just find all my stuff from like Twitter now, and I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And so like I'm looking back at like how nice it was when the internet wasn't like the thing it is now. And I think maybe that's also kind of how I view the new music scene, and the old music scene is also very similar to like the old internet versus the new internet, where there's kind of a and I think that Ben, you were right when you were saying that everything's really niche now. Like everyone's got like their own kind of own fucking thing. And there is a absurd amount of tapping where I don't know how everyone figured out how to do that. I can't, I've been playing guitar for like 20 years. How everyone decided to just learn how to do that. Honestly, go fuck yourselves. That's insane. Like, like it's so crazy that people can do that and sing, and they've been playing guitar for like a year and a half. But there's like this. There's such extremes versions of set. Maybe that things were just like milder back then. But it just the internet seems sharper, and everyone's music seems a little bit sharper as well.
Well, everyone's trying to play like where like I feel like in their heads bands are like where will this fit on a playlist? Like what playlist can this like get on? Like that's sort of
Mhm.
like how, people are discovered now is like getting on a random playlist on Spotify or like similar artists, or maybe it'll show up on their, Spotify radio or whatever. Um yeah, so it's like people are bands maybe are more concerned with like how they fit with other bands,
Sure.
which is neither a good thing or a bad thing. It's like people know what they like, and it's like I'm not gonna say they shouldn't like what they like. They've discovered something that they enjoy, and that's great. Um, but like all that stuff is like coded in the musical landscape now. It's just like
Mhm.
that's just the game right now.
And it's like you know that also from a younger age as well. Like you've already been doing this that long. Hell yeah. Dogs, I would love to play a song from actually I always like to ask you this. What do y'all do for day jobs?
So I'm a graphic designer.
Fuck yeah.
Yes, I work for a more corporate job, but I do freelance on the side too. So
Hell
that
yeah.
keeps me busy. I do all the Annabelle design stuff too. So
Which is it's so killer. That or actually if you want to dive into that, what was the main idea for that cover art? I'm constantly looking at it.
yeah, I mean it was like Ben and I sat down and a lot of it's like you know, treating it like a client. Like, Ben, what do you think the themes are of this? Like, what kind of
Yeah.
imagery, what kind of feel? Like, so we just sat down and looked through images and got like a lot of references. And so that image, we just found the image, but I, did some tweaking and whatnot, just from an aesthetic standpoint. But yeah, really, that like I don't know. Ben can probably speak on what the image means, but
Sure.
for me,
I
it's just
mean,
like looking at a visual palette and making sure everything looks nice and cohesive. It looks like an Annabelle release. And one of my things is like typography and colors and making sure it looks like,
That's
the
fucking awesome.
the cover really struck me because for a lot of reasons. Like obviously it's like a visually striking image. And it kind of fit in like sort of like the surrealness of like what is real and like having your, life feeling like it's flooding, but also like my house at that time was going through a lot of I had like a lot of mold issues from water damage. So it like really struck a
Oh.
chord with me because like all this water in the house was like, that's like what I was dealing with. And like obviously the cover it's like more extreme than what I had, but like I had to
Yeah, a
have
little bit, just a little bit more extreme.
a little bit more extreme. So like I had to like renovate my kitchen and it took like 2 years and I was like literally living in ruin in my house for like a year and a half. So
Okay, that makes
it fit
sense.
it fit
The,
that for me.
the through line is there for that 1 million
Yeah.
percent.
Um,
And what? Yeah, what were you saying?
Oh, I also thought it was kind of fitting because like Youth and Youth had like a suburban kind of home on the cover, and this one, that's the exterior. I thought this was cool. Like years down the road,
Oh,
like
it's
you
like
do
this is
like
inside the
youth
house.
that- I don't know, not
Oh,
totally, but I know like there's some suburban themes.
oh,
In Annabelle,
Youth
and
and
I
Youth
thought
having
like,
it all in Worldviews is a trilogy.
oh, that's so
oh
fucking
shit.
good. Oh, oh, it's genius. There's just so much fun with that kind of stuff, and you can only do that in music. You can only do that where it's like, oh, by the way, like it's so fucking funny. What now, Ben? What do you do for your day job?
I'm a video editor and right now I'm independent, so I kind of just do freelance stuff. I do weddings and stuff on the side as well.
Oh, that's fun. I mean,
I do all
so you stayed in creative.
yeah, and I've done all our video stuff, so all the music videos that we put out last year and all the promo stuff, that was all me.
Are you shooting and also behind the desk, or are you mainly behind the desk?
Both. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm editor by trade, but I also shoot.
Cool. Awesome. So first of all, was there a thing that made y'all want to stay in the concept of like being in a creative field to like, even if the band was done, at least you feel like that that part of the brain is flexing no matter what?
Yeah, I think it's just how we are as people.
Yeah.
We're creatives.
Yeah. So I gotta still do it. I gotta find a way. I'm gonna fucking kill myself if I don't. Like
Gotta
that's
gotta
all I
make
know.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my field is like I've been working in like just in apps for like the last 10 years. And so like this has been my hobby thing. And it's funny that now that I do this as like my side is music and this thing and podcasting and stuff, that it's like I wonder how I could maneuver my job into more of that stuff. Like I have to find as soon as the music and the podcasting thing is done. Oh, I've already know what the serotonin level is. I'm gonna want to keep hitting that, tapping that
Yeah.
vein as many times as I fucking can. But I wanted to play a song from y'all from the new record. What song would you like to have played?
How about Dog?
Okay, hell yeah. But so here is Dog by Annabelle.
I'm the dog in a fire. Always saying this is fine. The house collapsing around me while I put on a smile. Just to grow with whatever. As long
dog by Annabelle. My dogs. Thank you so much for fucking hanging out with me. Again, I'm probably gonna listen to the record again as soon as this is over, just because it's like it's sunny out right now, and it's the only thing I can think about is putting that record on. So thank you so much for fucking hanging out with me.
Thanks for having us. We
No
appreciate
problem.
all the support that you've given us, and stoked to have done this.
All right, hell yeah. We'll talk to y'all soon, okay?
Yo.
Thanks so much.